Hey everybody, what's up and welcome back to the Starcraft 2 Own It Shack Masters League Quest, the series where I show you my journey into the Masters League. That is Justifier me, and I'm playing against an Terran opponent here who I am slightly favored against. Now before I get into this, I do want to thank all of you new subscribers from Force Strategy Gaming, from Force SC2 Strategy. I so appreciate you taking the time to come over here and check out my stuff. I really hope you enjoy your stay at the Starcraft 2 Own It Shack, if I can put this in the most cheesy and corny way possible. And I really hope you like my stuff, because I think I have some pretty good stuff to offer, to be honest. And at the same time, I want to thank all of my other subscribers who've been with me for so long. I appreciate you so much. Really enjoy reading the comments you leave. That helps so much, not only to just improve the quality of my videos from your suggestions, but also when you comment on my videos and like them, I believe that gives them more search priority, which helps spread the word about my channel on YouTube. And that, can't go wrong there, so thank you very much. So keep it up. I hope you enjoy this cast. And like I said, it is Terran versus Terran. And one other thing I want to talk about before I get into the details of this game is I would really appreciate some feedback on whether you want more of these or less. Just basically feedback on the ratio of my video types. Do you want more regular commentaries? Do you want more Masters League Quest games? Or do you want like a few more strategy videos? Because right now I'm kind of in the dark in that area. It seems like you guys really like these first-person videos the most, but I just want to make sure. So if you could just leave a comment letting me know your opinion on that, I'd really appreciate that. And also I've been receiving some requests to do videos on the mechanics, like the hotkey setup, how you should move your hands, and just how you manipulate the keyboard. And that is something I fully intend on doing. It will take a while though for me to get the equipment necessary for that, just to make it as epic as possible. I could do a half-assed job right now, and that's not something I intend on doing on my channel. I want to have really good quality work for you all the time. And anyways, let's just hop into this game. So I've scouted him. It is the map Typhon Peaks, one of the new maps that they recently released, along with Slag Pits and Backwater Gulch, and everyone's favorite, the Shattered Temple. Yes. And on this map, I figured, okay, well, it's pretty much like any other 4-player map. It's got a nice, reasonably good base. Now, the one thing you do have to worry about on Typhon Peaks here is this little shrubbed area that I'm currently building a supply depot in. The reason I'm building it there is obviously to give me vision of that, because if they drop in there, that can be a little bit tricky to defend if you don't know it's there to begin with. So that's just my reasoning there. And I'm going to be doing that Blue Flame Hellion drop again, of course. My favorite build to do in Terran versus Terran. Really solid all around. It seems to do very well versus pretty much anything except a Marine Marauder Stim all-in timing push. Now I'm going to be getting that second refinery. That is a late refinery, however. After refining this build a bit more, I've now learned the best time to get that refinery, that second refinery, is immediately after you start the factory. That way, you will have 150 gas ready for when the tech lab of your factory finishes, and you can start that infernal pre-igniter research immediately afterwards. You should also get the starport immediately after. As you can see, adding the tech lab, and I'm just going for a 1-1-1 essentially. I also put my supply depot right there, just to sort of block in that crack. You can see I've done that with both of my supply depots at my main base. That's so if he tries and Hellion drops me, he has no way of sneaking into the mineral line if I essentially seal up all those cracks with supply depots. So that's basically my, general reasoning behind that. I do like to position my buildings, even the supply depots and other less important ones, in a particular way. Also notice I'm rallying my Hellion and Medevac into the shrubbed area once again. That is so if he comes up with a scout somehow, he won't be able to get vision. Now, I don't know if he can see that right now with the scan, but I'm going to assume he hasn't. But scanning and seeing the un-tech-labbed starport is a pretty clear indicator he's going for some kind of drop. Now, also notice I'm building a barracks right there, right outside of his natural. And this is something I've been experimenting with, and I have to say I love it. It is so clever, if I do say so myself. I didn't even rip this off anyone. I just started doing it on my own, so I take full credit for this. Now, I'm sure other people do it too, though. But either way, the point of that is to serve two purposes. My main reason is to allow me to scout into his base. I'm essentially going to lift that up and just float it on in and see what he's building, see his unit composition, see what's going on in the land of the Red Terran. And that'll allow me to react accordingly. Now, another thing it's going to allow me to do is to see when his expansion goes down, if it goes down early. Now my Hellions are loaded up into that medevac with 2 SCVs on auto repair. That is a new technique I've been using, because believe it or not, SCVs on auto repair will repair injured units inside of the medevac, and you are going to see that come into play here. It is so slick. And as you can see, the Barracks is now floating into his base for the low cost of 150 minerals, much cheaper than a scan, which, as I said in my other Terran versus Terran, I refuse to do. So now I'll be only dropping the Hellions here. You want to keep the SCVs in there. Don't want to lose them. There's no point. And he's going to be pulling his SCVs immediately. But his Marines are out here for the roasting, and so I immediately start killing them. Now I'll load these injured units right back up in the medevac, and you should see that in a couple of seconds they will be tip-top shape, ready to go once again. Of course, during this time, I'm continuing to macro up, and I decided, based on his unit composition, I'm just going to transition into more biomech sort of play here with Viking and medevac support. So that's why I put those 2 extra barracks down during this time, and I'm going to switch to siege tanks as well. So I drop my Hellions once again. As you can see, they're fully healed because of those SCVs in the medevac, and he pulls all of his SCVs, but not before I get a really large chunk of them. And just a little tip for you guys, if you're struggling with dealing with Hellions, regardless of the matchup, never pull your workers like that. That is where the Hellions will own them the most. What you want to do is absolutely nothing. You just leave them mining. You're going to lose some, but not nearly as many as if you line them up in a big Congo line like my opponent just did there. It's sort of it's a hard thing to do, because your natural instinct, of course, is to save them and pull them away as fast as possible. They can't outrun the Hellions. There's no way. So what I really suggest is you just leave them there and let them do their thing. So my medevac catches this push on the way back to my base, and that's very fortunate because I wouldn't have been prepared otherwise. Now what I'm going to want to do here is pull my SCVs, and this is just so I can get those right on top of his siege tanks when they siege up, and you'll see that right here. So it also gives me vision, and yeah, their splash damage just kills them. I unfortunately do lose all my SCVs, but a couple of SCVs to kill his whole army seems like a pretty fair deal to me. I'm going to take this time now to get my base saturated. I'll be transferring the rest of the SCVs down there while I research Stimpak for my bio. Also going to get that engineering bay just in case he does switch into Banshees. I was a little bit lax with my upgrades in this game, if I remember, so that's something you're going to want to do if you try and execute this strategy. I've also taken this time to put a reactor on my starport, just because I might as well. I have nothing else to do with that starport right now, so I might as well get it ready for when I do want to get those double Vikings, which is just about now. You'll also want a few medevacs in there as well to heal your Marines, since I am going for the biomech instead of the pure tank Viking mix that I seem to favor quite a bit more. I'll also be putting turrets up at my main base and expansion just because of the threat of those Banshees, like I said. And now I feel like I have a decent amount of tanks, so I'll just be pushing up on him to do some pressure. My main goal with this is not to kill him, but merely to contain him so I can use that time to erect my third base and just get a really strong macroeconomic advantage over him that I can really use to my advantage in the late game here. So I just push up, and this is one of the big problems of this new map, Typhon Peaks, for Terran versus Terran. The defender has a huge advantage here. As you can see, his tanks are nice and spread out. They have a huge wide area, whereas mine have a small choke point to go through in order to get to his base. And that's kind of unfortunate because on other maps, like for example Shattered Temple, it's the attacker who can get that nice contain up. I don't know if I like it yet, but if you're the aggressor, it seems like this map is probably not going to be one of your favorites to play on. As you can see, I'm supply block there. Very amateur mistake, but it does happen when you are still in the Diamond League. Unfortunately, I'm not Masters yet. I'm also putting up a sensor tower over at my expansion there. That's just to catch any drops that he might try and send my way. Of course, drops can be very potent when you go for these tank-heavy mixtures, simply because, of course, they're slow as anything, so they can't get back to your base and defend fast. So, obviously, you're going to need to see it coming, and if I can see it coming, I can get my Vikings to try and pick off that medevac before it has a chance to land any of its cargo. That's generally the reason behind it. Of course, also, even if you don't go for these tanks. If you're ahead, you might as well put those down just so your opponent can't, find a sneaky way to get back ahead. Like a drop, for example. So sadly, I've been supply blocked quite a while in this game, and that's unfortunate for me, because it's never something you want to do. I'm going to be scanning him right now, and I see, alright, his tanks, they're pretty far back. So I can take this opportunity to edge mine just a little bit closer. So I'm going to be unsieging a couple. Obviously, you don't want to unsiege them all at the same time. That's very dangerous. And I'll just be moving them nice and close here. And as you can see, my siege line is quite inferior to his right now, simply because of the positioning. But I do have all the Vikings I need in order to get vision where he does not. And that's really going to help me. I'll be taking this time to put my third base up. As I said, I have a really strong stranglehold over his position, so there's really no way for him to kind of break out of there and attack that base. But either way, you're probably going to want to take that, just because even if he does manage to get it, it's probably paid for itself by that time already. And he's trying to go for Vikings here, but he's just not succeeding. And what I suggest, and this is something I do in my games, if you lose air control, meaning your opponent somehow kills all your Vikings and ends up with more than you, don't even bother making more Vikings. You will never get it back. That's just how Terran versus Terran works. Instead, invest all of that into your bio and your mech, so you can make a really strong push and try and break the contain you're in. That's way better. Trust me. Now, because he's got such a strong siege line, I'm going to be just taking the back door right now. So I get a bunch of Marines with stim, and I unload them, into his main base. Hopefully a bit out of vision of his buildings. Just stim up there and start picking off SCVs like it's a holiday. And as you can see, a ton of them go down before he pulls away, showing you why having its fast reaction time is really important in this game. He could have saved a lot of those SCVs. I'm also going to be trying to bait his units back up there so I can again get my siege tanks further into position. So I scanned to see, alright, he didn't fall for the bait and he left his tanks there. That's very smart. You don't want to move those tanks away just to deal with a drop. It's much better to send your infantry. So I'll just be making a Viking flower there. Oh, sorry. No, it's a Viking, just a Viking flock, I guess. It's not really a flower quite yet. And I'll be transferring SCVs over during this time as well. Like I said, my upgrades were slacking. What you really want right now, in this case, is you would probably want to get an armory and 2 engineering bays. I only have 1 engineering bay, and I don't even think I upgraded in it. I was getting a little too cocky at this point. You don't want to do that. You don't want to make that mistake. You should instead just, get those upgrades early so that you can really push through here strong and try and take him out. And as you can see, with my superior range, I'm just devastating his forces. And you'll notice that his infantry keeps pulling forward. That's not, you want to press H so that it holds position. That doesn't happen. I see him sieging up here, so I take the opportunity to just go for the gold here, and I just push forward and siege up before him, and then I land my Vikings right on top of his tanks, and that's pretty much the finishing blow here as I completely decimate him. You never want to unsiege all your tanks at once. For that very reason, you saw the devastating effect forced into GG, and that is essentially why I won that game. And as you can see, of course, I was slightly favored, but believe it or not, this guy was actually around a 2700 rated Terran. So if I'm slightly favored against a 2700, what does that make me? A pretty good player. So I'm getting there, guys, and I really hope to be in the Masters League in a reasonable amount of time. Once again, hope you enjoyed this game. Be sure to leave feedback about the ratio of my VOD styles you want to see, and hope to see you again for another daily dose of ownage.